Good Monday morning, Step family. Stepdad here with some Monday motivation for you, and I've got a question for you. How much time do you spend playing video games? Be honest. Now, I like video games too. I play Rocket League, but I don't play it very often. But I've played it for about 3 years, so I still like it. Anyway, if you are playing a lot of video games and not doing other things with your discretionary time, then you're probably doing some things that are going to have long-term negative impacts on your development, especially if you're a teenager and you're listening to this. You're going through some developmental times with your brain that can affect the rest of your life. Now, it doesn't mean you can't change it in adulthood, but it becomes harder if you're stuck in those habits. Some of the negative effects of excessive video games are you shorten your attention span. You have a sedentary lifestyle so that you are not as physically active and consequently healthy. It limits your ability to develop socially. And I don't want to just get on here and do a rant against video games, but I want to give you an alternative. And this is on the map to manhood. Here's the challenge I want to give you instead of video games. Read a book. Now, here are some recommendations. These are books that I read with my kids when they were teenagers, until they got so old it wasn't cool to read books with dad anymore. But this is one, the 11 Thump series. Oh, and by the way, I want you to read a book that has more than 100 pages. And there's a lot of books that are so entertaining, you will get into them and read them so fast. Harry Potter is a great example. If you haven't read the Harry Potter ones, then go read a Harry Potter book. It's a little bit different than the movies, but 11 Thumps, great series, very interesting. It'll keep your attention. That's one. The 13th Reality. This is another one that I read, and I think this is a series because I think this is book one. This is a great series that you can read. This one was really good. Reading this with my kids. The Candy Shop Wars. Get this one, read it. It's really good. I'll put links to these books in the description below. Now, if you're older and you don't want to read adolescent literature, here's some that I love. I love history books and fictional history books, and there's some great authors. None of these are fictional. George Washington's War. That is a great book about the American Revolution. Sorry to all you friends of mine in the UK. Angel in the Whirlwind, another one about the American Revolution. Here's one about the Constitution of the United States that is really fantastic. Miracle of Philadelphia. We made a movie about this one. I think they had a series on HBO about it too, but Band of Brothers. Not a huge book, but fascinating. There are a ton of books that will help you develop your mind in ways that video games won't, but in ways that watching TV or scrolling through screens won't either. So here's what I invite you to do. Get a book that's more than 100 pages. If you get any of those books and you haven't read them, you won't regret it. If you like history for the ones I showed you, or if you like adolescent literature, kind of fantasy type stuff, those are really good. And I loved them as an adult, reading them with my kids. Oh, there was one other series I wanted to tell you about, and that's the Michael Bay series. They're in my son's room. He's still in bed asleep, so I didn't go grab it because I didn't want to, well, I do want to wake him up kind of, but he wouldn't like that. But the Michael Bay series is another great book. I used to read these to my son, Nicholas. He's my youngest now, and he would go read them. He didn't tell me this, but he would read ahead because he wanted to read faster than I was reading with him at nighttime, at bedtime. So they can be just as addictive as video games if you get the right book. Reading a book over 100 pages is one of the actions on the Map to Manhood. If you have not downloaded the Map to Manhood, go to maptomanhood.org and download that. Always remember, you can still succeed even if you're growing up and your dad's not in your daily life, or if you've grown up and your dad wasn't there, and you do have a dad that loves you. And I'll see you on the next video. Oh, and don't forget, I want you to put your recommendations for books in the comments below. What books have you read that you think others would love? Let us know in the comments.